So later, I think you ended up in Washington, D.C., right?
No. What I wanted to show you this right here. You can read this out loud to him too.
One need not be a historian to know change is inevitable. Every written word, every picture, and every memory gives evidence of this. Who knows what drives a person to change? We only know that it happens. Living through a war is a factor no one can leave out. Born December 15th, 1924, my grandfather, Alvin Helge, knows all about change. At the tender age of 16, Alvin entered into a life that would give him vast experience in a world of changes, beginning a career that would change him forever, and embarking on a ride through history. Alvin wanted to serve his country, and after a short stint in the CCC, was told he was too young, being only 16. He then decided he would serve his country as a United States Marine. Yet again, he was lacking the legal age, but somehow made it through boot camp. When being issued his first duty station, his age was discovered, and he was again asked to leave the service. Alvin didn't give up the idea of serving his country, though, and in September 1941, with his mother's signature and with the help of a new legislation lowering the age requirements, he was able to sign up to become a member of the United States Navy, a move that marks the beginning of Alvin's major life changes. Navy life was unlike the day-to-day life Alvin had led up till then, and he found maintaining one's past was quite difficult. He found that once religious life he led changed when he boarded his first ship. Cussing and drinking became a habit, with all the other seamen doing the same, and keeping up some type of religious control was impossible. Those who chose to maintain their belief system did so secretly, and Alvin drifted away from God. It wasn't until his granddaughter asked him to teach her about God some years later that he knew it was time to return to his faith. And so several years after retiring from the Navy, he rediscovered the Lord. Of course, you did kind of remember him
when I met you now. You're reading that now.
Yeah. One would think religion would be resurrected again during Alvin's next experience, but it wasn't. After his 23 battle engagements on the USS Hull, a 1,500-ton destroyer, something happened that would have major effects on any man. December 18, 1944, steaming along in radio silence after refueling the Fifth Fleet, a storm began to build. The small storm eventually turned into a typhoon. With waves of up to 90 feet, the hull was tossed viciously, thrusting her up on the crests of waves and then dropping her down. Following several drops, the ship began to rock from side to side, and in an instant the engine room took on water, killing power. At the mercy of the storm, the ship was overturned, throwing all the sailors overboard into winds of 200 miles an hour. Life jackets and rafts were out of the question. The winds would throw them around and beat the seamen to death. The only way for the men to survive was to put their head between their legs and grab their ankles, making themselves into a little ball. The sailors were pulled underwater, what seemed to be 50 or 60 feet, and then thrown to the crest of the wave and dropped again. The force of the water was enough to tear a man limb from limb, but if they could maintain their balled-up position, they had a chance. Breathing seemed impossible above the water as it was under due to the massive amount of rainfall, and it seemed as if it would never end. It did end, in fact, but the trauma endured for 3 days and 4 more nights, more than many men could handle. After the initial storm, the men were left to keep themselves afloat, waiting for a rescue vessel. Bobbing in the middle of the ocean and unable to see anyone, many thought their lives and what memories they had. Starved, dehydrated, and mostly naked, many men had their doubts. Alvin found a way to keep himself alive by biting the heads off small fish that were trying to feed off his back and sucking the moisture out of him. Not many were as fortunate, though. When it finally ended, James Roosevelt, the captain of the rescuing ship, and his crew managed to scrape the few survivors from the water and take them to safety. In all, 56 of the 900 men were alive, and 3 ships were sunk. Alvin was one of the lucky ones. Being one of the first 13 radar men in the United States Navy. Oh, I didn't know there were only 13 at the time. Well, that's cool. And a survivor of a shipwreck, he was given choice assignments. Having the rank of first-class petty officer, he was assigned to the cruiser Los Angeles into commission, but on arrival was told there were too many first-class petty officers and he'd have to be transferred. After a move to Green Bay, Wisconsin, in a short stint, he decided it was time to hang up his cap and enter civilian life.